Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Simon and his companions went to look for him, and when they found him, they exclaimed, "Everyone is looking for you." Jesus replied, "Let us go somewhere else, to the nearby villages, so that I can preach there also. That is why I have come." So he travelled throughout Galilee, preaching in their synagogues and driving out demons.
Mark chapter 1, verses 35 to 39. I'm standing outside the Sweet Flamingo ice cream parlour here on the seafront in Bognor Regis. Apparently they do the most amazing gelato ice creams and waffles. I'm here because I was reading something about Jesus going to desert places in order to pray. Well, it said something a little bit like that anyway. Jesus, you would imagine, was always communicating with his Father in prayer. But Mark only specifically tells us on 3 occasions that Jesus went to pray. And each time it's when he needs to make a difficult decision. He's at a crossroads in his ministry. You know, back in the late 80s, I loved a band called, a Scottish band, Deacon Blue. And I was at a music festival with 20 or 30,000 other people. Nothing was billed about Deacon Blue at all. They weren't scheduled to play. And yet all weekend, people kept on saying, "Have you heard? Ricky Ross is here. Have you heard that Ricky Ross is here?" Well, eventually somebody said to me, "Don't tell anybody, but Ricky Ross is playing in this out of the way tiny little marquee in the corner of a field later that day." Well, I wasn't sure whether to believe it, but I didn't have anything to lose, so I turned up at the scheduled time. There was a few of us looking a bit shifty outside. I went into the marquee, sat right down at the front on the grass. A few minutes later, Ricky Ross was a few feet in front of me at a keyboard. He sang all my favourites: Dignity, Chocolate Girl, Wages Day. It was amazing. To this day, I still don't know why they didn't just put him on main stage and why just a few of us were privileged to hear him. Maybe if 20 or 30,000 other people had turned up at that marquee, it couldn't have possibly have taken place. Jesus is becoming popular for his healing. Well, of course, everybody knows somebody who is sick and needs to be healed. And yet, Jesus says, when the disciples come up to him and are basically saying, "Look, Jesus, you're on a roll. Surely you want to do what your public wants." But you know what? Disciples don't get to tell Jesus what to do. We're not in charge. We're followers. And Jesus doesn't take the path of fame and fortune. His way is a way to the cross. And that's the way his disciples need to follow him in. What he says is that he has come to preach. He wants to spread around the message, not just keep it in one small little place. He wants many people to have the opportunity to hear so that they can respond in repentance and faith and put their trust in Jesus. You know, it could have been that just a few people would have heard about Jesus and had the chance to extend their lives by a few years, 2,000 years ago. But instead, the strategy that Jesus followed means that people like you and I today get the opportunity to put our trust and faith in Jesus so that we can be forgiven and be healed in heaven forever. You know, here on the Bognor Regis seafront, there's a great place called the Coffee Cup. It's a little takeaway place, and I've walked past it so many times, there's been nobody there. Just recently, they've been queuing down the street to get in. It takes ages. Whereas this place, Sweet Flamingo, the word on the street is that you don't have to queue up, and they do the most amazing hot chocolates to take away. Father, thank you so much that Jesus is the one who is in charge and in control and knows what he's doing. Thank you that he came to proclaim and preach good news so that women and men and boys and girls can put their faith and trust in him. Amen.